We start things off with a quote to put the subject matter we're about to wrestle with into perspective. Consciousness is too vast a subject to be squeezed into the narrow bag of science. Itzhak Bentov. I also like to think of it in these terms. Making sense of the subject of consciousness is like sifting Niagara Falls through a coffee straw. But that's not going to stop us from drinking from the fire hose, even if it racks or hurts our brains a bit. The mainstream scientific worldview is based on materialism. They have a very hard time with things that cannot be measured with an instrument. Materialism sounds like you're just a meat machine clinging to bones, alive by pure random chance, spinning on a rock in the void of space, and your sense of self, well, that's nothing more than a chemical illusion created by your brain. So how do things like manifestation, clairvoyance, extrasensory perception, unidentified aerial phenomenon, out-of-body experiences, remote viewing, astral projection, etc. fit in this equation? Well, it does not. It's denied, it's mission impossible, and Tom Cruise isn't on board. It's either turned a blind eye to, discredited, tossed in the bucket of paranormal, and relegated to the bowels of YouTube. But materialism was highly effective to get us from where we were to where we are now, so it's unrealistic to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It does a very good job, when not corrupted by corporate or governmental interest groups, at making sense of what is this one side of reality, more or less explained via the natural sciences. But something is missing. The equation is only half solved. And it's not like we didn't have help or hints from, I don't know, say thousands on thousands of years of history and doctrines from ancient cultures who were rich with knowledge that spanned and touched every aspect of existence from astronomy, health, and who created some of the world's greatest and longest lasting structures that remain a mystery to this day. And while these spiritual schools of thought carry different allegories and stories and knowledge systems due to their cultural and historical lens, they all share similar learnings and principles, with the most basic idea being that, drum roll please, consciousness is fundamental. It is the final denominator. It goes consciousness first, then everything else. It is the fountainhead in which our entire reality is based off of. In today's world, this notion is referred to as idealism. Idealism is the belief that reality is fundamentally shaped by the mind or consciousness rather than existing independently. It holds that ideas, perceptions, or spiritual realities are more foundational than physical matter. Idealism says that the world as we experience it is a product of our mental constructs and that reality itself is immaterial, existing only as a reflection of consciousness. And so in this idealist worldview, we have things like ESP, manifestation, out-of-body experiences, all a possibility because consciousness remains as the fundamental source that creates all of reality. So there's this wonderful quote by a demigod of the science world, Albert Einstein, that puts things in a cheeky manner. Science without religion is lame, religion without science is blind. It's semantics, but in my opinion, I think he meant to say science without spirituality is blind. Religion is a little bit more constraining, which will get to be a little bit more critical later on in the programming. We are now beginning to have traditional scientific professionals from all fields in physics, quantum mechanics, mathematics, and neuroscience contribute to the mainstream conversation that consciousness is fundamental to all life and matter. Now, when we say fundamental, we mean what, like Mr. Christoph Koch states, I believe that consciousness is an elementary property of living matter. It can't be derived from anything else. Another compelling example of mainstream science moving in this direction is highlighted in a Scientific American article on the work of 2022 Nobel Prize winners in physics, Clauser, Aspect, and Zeland. It explains how they prove through quantum physics that the universe is not locally real. We'll break this down. Traditionally, real means objects have inherent properties like color or spin, even when not observed. Local means objects can only be influenced by their immediate surroundings, not across vast distances. Their work demonstrates that entangled particles remain linked across any distance, with their properties emerging only upon measurement. This finding defies classical ideas of causality and locality, revealing a universe that is deeply interconnected and dependent on observation. Nothing is solid. It is proven that thoughts are what puts and holds together this ever-changing energy field into the objects that we see. Some estimates suggest that 99.9999999% of an atom's volume is essentially empty space or void, or a little bit more technically put, immaterial energy. If you were to squeeze all the matter in the observable universe into a single point, it would become incredibly dense and small. Based on estimates of the total mass and density of the universe, the compressed size would be around the size of a marble. Of course, this assumes we're compressing all matter into a singularity-like state, similar to how matter behaves in a black hole. So, what is all this empty space? On a macro level, physicists now say that the universe consists of only 4% atomic matter, or what we consider normal matter, 23% is dark matter, and 73% is dark energy, or what we previously called empty space. It's like this invisible nervous system that runs throughout the universe, connecting all things. Going back to the micro or atoms, this empty space can be described as potential by some, and by others as probability waves. Electrons in an atom don't follow fixed orbits. Instead, they exist as probability clouds described by the wave function representing where the electron is likely to be found. This means that there's no true empty space inside an atom, as both electrons and quarks have wave functions filling the space with probabilities rather than leaving any part empty. This wave nature is why atomic space is incomprehensible. Quantum physics proves that what we perceive as solid matter is in fact energy in constant motion held together by various forces. It reveals that reality is much stranger and more fluid than our senses lead us to believe. What we perceive as the physical world is one large sea of energy that flashes into and out of being in milliseconds over and over again, called quantum fluctuations. Quantum particles, the fundamental building blocks of what makes up atomic matter, flash in and out of being in milliseconds over and over again that only solidify when there's an observer. The famous study referred to as the double slit experiment demonstrates how the act of observation influences reality. When particles like electrons or photons pass through two slits without being observed, they behave like waves, creating an interference pattern. This suggests they exist as possibilities, not fixed objects. However, the moment that they're observed, they behave like particles, as if the act of observation forces them to choose a definite state. This aligns with the idea that our consciousness interacts with an ever-changing energy field, shaping it into the solid objects we perceive. Without observation, reality remains in a realm of potential, but our awareness brings it into form. Just like a video game renders environments only when the player looks at them, reality collapses into form when observed. Without your awareness, what's outside your perception remains in a potential, or, in computer terms, unrendered state. Nature loves to conserve energy, just like in video games. The CPU saves resources by rendering only what's necessary. Similarly, consciousness focuses energy only where attention is directed, supporting the idea that reality is observer-centric. When you're not observing something, it doesn't exist in the same tangible way. You and I have 5 physical senses: sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. Each of these senses has a specific spectrum. Pit vipers, pythons, and some other snakes have infrared sensing capabilities, allowing them to see the heat signatures of their prey. They see the world totally differently. Star-nosed mole, their nose contains 22 fleshy appendages with over 100,000 nerve fibers, making it incredibly sensitive to touch and helping it detect prey underground in total darkness. For them, the world doesn't look like anything, but feels like everything. Dogs have up to 300 million olfactory receptors in their nose compared to humans who have 5 to 6 million. Their sense of smell is about 40 times better than humans, so they smell the world in a way we cannot comprehend. The parameters and limitations of our five senses dictates how we see the world, and for each being, the world seems different. In other words, our set of senses perceives the sea of energy from a certain limited standpoint and makes up an image from that. It's not complete, nor is it accurate, it's just an interpretation. All of our interpretations are solely based on the internal map of reality that we have and are not the real truth. Our map is a result of our personal and collective life experiences. Our thoughts are linked to this invisible energy, and they determine the energy forms we perceive. Your thoughts literally mold the universe on a particle by particle basis to create your physical life experience. Look around you. Everything you see in your physical world started as an idea that grew as it was shared and expressed until it formed into a physical object through a number of steps. You literally become what you think about most. Your life becomes what you have imagined and believed in most. The world is literally your mirror, enabling you to experience in the physical plane what you hold as your truth, until you decide to change it. Quantum physics shows us that the world is not the hard and unchangeable thing it may appear to be. Instead, it is a very fluid place continuously built up using our individual and collective thoughts. What we think is true is really an illusion, almost like a magic trick. Fortunately, we have begun to uncover the illusion and how to change it. What is our body made of? Well, it's composed of 9 systems: muscular, circulatory, respiratory, digestive, nervous, skeletal, reproductive, endocrine, and urinary. What are the 9 systems made of? Organs and tissues. Well, what are organs and tissues made of? Cells. What are cells made of? Molecules. What are molecules made of? Atoms. What are atoms made of? Subatomic particles. What are subatomic particles made of? Energy. 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 You and I are pure energy. Light in its most beautiful and intelligent configuration. Energy that is constantly changing beneath the surface, and we control it all. You are one great stellar and powerful microcosmic human being living within a macrocosmic universe. Energy within energy vibrating at different frequencies. If you could see yourself under a powerful electron microscope and conduct experiments on yourself, you would see that you're made up of a cluster of ever-changing energy in the form of electrons, neutrons, photons, and so on. And so is everything else around you. An object does not exist independently of its observer. So as you can see, your observation, your attention to something, and your intention literally creates that thing. There is no woo-woo here. It is mainstay science and proven. It's just not talked about nearly enough. Our world is made up of spirit, mind, and the body. Each of those 3 things, spirit, mind, and body, has a function that is unique to it and not shared with the other. What you see with your eyes and experience with your body is the physical world. The body is an effect created by a cause. This cause is thought. Body cannot create, it can only experience and be experienced. That is its unique function. Thought cannot experience, it can only make up, create, and interpret. It needs a world of relativity, the physical world, the body, to experience itself. Spirit, consciousness, is all that is, that which gives life to thought and body. The body has no power to create, although it gives a great illusion of the power to do so. This illusion is the cause of much frustration. The body is purely an effect and has no power of itself. The key with all of this information is, how do you learn to see the universe differently than you do now so that you can unravel yourself and allow for the mirror of reality to meet you halfway?